FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to and perhaps even watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is 12/15/2020. Well, Robinhood is alive and well. The people at Robinhood are anxiously awaiting the next stimulus plan, the more money that goes into the pockets of the hapless millennial and I guess Gen Z generation, the Zoomers. Literally, the more money goes into the coffers of Robinhood. I mean, it's hard to find any millennial out there that doesn't have a Robinhood account and hasn't gotten their free shares. Now there's Chinese competition coming down the pike from Webull. It's all an interesting situation. And someone who knows a lot about both is with us now, Christopher Yule, and got some questions or comments what your feeling is about Robinhood and millennial trading patterns. Why don't you send us an email to kl@kerrylutz.com. Christopher, it's great to have you on the show. So you're an options expert, market expert. Tell us about you, how you got into this game here.
Well, Kerry, I appreciate the time today. This is it's a real pleasure of mine. When I started trading in 2009, and kind of like you and I were talking out beforehand, I managed to blow up my account twice before I figured things out, which, all great traders that I've come across have a similar experience. And if they haven't had a similar experience, I'm sure they will at some point. In fact, so I have a podcast, and I started that kind of while documenting the journey of learning to trade. And we're episode 400 and something at this point. But every time I have a guest on who's like, oh, I've never, blown up my account, I look at him a little bit crazy eyed, and I'm like, it's only a matter of time. I don't think you realize this. Like, you're not respecting the risk if you haven't at least blown it up once or twice. That way you can really feel that burn. But, that's where these new traders out in the Robinhood land, in the Webull land, it's really, really interesting because, earlier this year, there was the poor unfortunate person at Robinhood who took his own life, but he didn't even understand the risk that he was taking. And that's the really sad part. Had he seen, in fact, I had addressed his exact particular issue on my podcast. It's called the How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast. I had addressed the literal exact thing that he went through. And I felt somewhat guilty because it was like, if I had reached him, maybe he would have had some other information that would have helped him continue on. But with that being said, you've got people who have some extra money, and extra money is a great thing. Investing your extra money is a great thing, but aggressively, speculatively trading with YOLO calls and out of the money options and things of that nature, that's not necessarily a great thing to have. So while on one hand, it's wonderful that these young people are getting more funds, the way that they're using their funds is more like lottery tickets than investment strategies. And that's where people, I really respect people like you and I that are working together to inform those people. And hopefully a couple of them will actually listen to this and really change their minds in the way that they approach finance and investing. And I say that because I've been there. I mean, the first time I blew up my account was exactly that. I bought so many out of the money calls, and I'm like, the market always goes up, Kerry. I'm not going to worry about it.
And of course, you want it to always, right?
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, it didn't go up and it went down and all my money was gone. I mean, I literally lost 2/3 of my account in the first 60 days of trading. So I know what it's like to make those mistakes.
You were right. Like the guy on what's that? South Park, where he goes and deposits the money in the bank, and he said, "Don't worry, we'll put it into derivatives in foreign currencies, and we'll lever up to the hilt." And then, and it's gone. And yes. The feeling of looking at your brokerage statement and seeing it's gone, and it ain't coming back so quick either, because it's a lot easier to make the money than it is to keep it. That's what my mother always told me, and it took me a lot of years to finally understand the wisdom of her words. And she was a saver, grew up during the Depression, but well off during the Depression. And she was somehow able to do what I was unable to do. And probably IQ point for IQ point, I was a little bit smarter than her, but common sense wise, not. So common sense tips. I'm sure a lot of what you deal with in the market is about common sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, here's one common sense tip you could take away. Take this to the bank, Kerry. This is how I lost my account the second time. Don't fight the trend. I was that guy who was like, I'm going to pick tops. I'm going to pick bottoms. And every single time I did that, it didn't work. In fact, the trend was working against me. I decided just arbitrarily, hey, I'm going to step in front of these trains on the track. And every time I was just getting run over. So that's if I could give just any single one tip, it's don't fight the trend. I mean, there's a lot of ego that goes into, hey, I know better than everybody else in the market and all this money and all these purchasers and everybody who's moving the stock forward, and then just being totally wrong. I had nothing to base that on other than I can pick tops and bottoms, or at least I tried to, and then that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, so you caught a lot of falling knives, huh?
Oh yeah, had lots of cuts to show for it.
Yeah, you got the scars and the missing digits as well. So obviously don't fight the trend because the market's always smarter than you. And as one wise man once said, the market can remain irrational much longer than you can remain solvent, right?
Yep, without a doubt. That was my experience for sure.
Yeah. So what's another common sense tip here?
So I love trading options. Like options are my bread and butter, but you've got to be really smart with them, right? Like we were talking about YOLO calls earlier. YOLO calls meaning buying a call out of the money and just expecting things to work in your favor. And while it absolutely may. The easier approach to that would be maybe selling put spreads. I mean, generally, my go-to strategy is selling an out of the money put and then capping my risk on that by buying another out of the money put. So essentially, you're taking something that could be a giant winner, but the low probability of that to converting it into something that could be a pretty good winner that you can do week after week after week with a pretty high probability of things working in your favor. And for me, like, it just doesn't get simpler that I really don't even like. Here, there was one point in time where I was hell-bent. I'm like, I'm going to figure out a way to have a risk-free options trade. So I was combining every single calls and puts combination that I could. I never could figure out the risk-free one. That just didn't ever come across. But being able to just, work with the put spread, just watching it go up and up and up and following, moving averages and things like that. It's just so much simpler. And the longer I've been trading, here's a quotable for you, a soundbite. The longer I've been trading, the simpler my strategy has become. And in all honesty, like, that's where I think a lot of early investors get really disillusioned is they try and complicate things. They try and really step out of their comfort zones, which is what you need to do, but not in a way that is conducive to long-term trading, right? It's the get rich quick mentality versus the get rich predictably mentality.
Yeah, well, it's very hard to get rich quickly, but it is very possible to go broke quickly.
Yes, that's for sure.
So what are some other common sense things that you've learned from your losses?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
With multi-million ounce potential at its Yellowknife District project, Goldterra is a company on the move. You'll find them at goldterracorp.com, and their ticker on the OTC is TRXXF. On the TSX, it's YGT. The management team is headed up by near legend Gerald Hanaton of Detour Gold fame, who's convinced that Yellowknife's potential is far greater than its current 735,000 ounce resource. The mine benefits from great infrastructure. Employees can pick up breakfast at Tim Hortons on the way to work. And there's multiple high-grade discoveries, putting Goldterra on track to reestablishing Yellowknife as one of the premier gold mining districts in Canada. And that should do wonders for the stock price as well. So head on over to goldterracorp.com and sign up for their notifications now.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
So one of the things that I am really building on right now, which you can see on my background here, is I have this system that I call the AI stock trading system. And I partner with an artificial intelligence data firm. And it's really, really cool. I mean, you can basically plug into their market data every day and see what their artificial intelligence data is going on with the stocks right there. It'll tell you what the algorithms are looking at. It'll tell you which sectors are moving, which sectors are like declining. Some are bullish or some are bearish. And for me, I mean, that has been the biggest game changer for me, because they really do just lay it all out there on a silver platter.
And anybody can follow this advice, or do you have to be a trader to figure it out?
That's a really good question. So whenever this company approached me, the company's called FinClub.ai. The issue was that they were able to get their product to market, but people didn't understand how to use their data, right? It would be like if you just bought a brand new Ferrari. I mean, you look like a Ferrari guy, so maybe that's the case.
More of a Mercedes, BMW guy.
There we go. We just got a new GLS 63.
Oh, okay. It's not real practical buying those Ferraris. One pothole and you're in the hole for $50,000.
Yeah. Yeah. My family's a Lexus family, so I get where you're coming from on the Mercedes front. But yeah, let's say Kerry just got the keys to a brand new GLS 63, and Kerry had never driven before, ever. That's not going to end up well, right? And that's kind of the situation that we had with our data picks out there, was that we were giving people all this information. We were handing them the keys to the car without giving them instruction on how to drive the car. So that's where they reached out to me and my website. So my website is 10minutestocktrader.com, and we do trading education. And so I kind of combined what I was doing with their artificial intelligence data, and that's where the AI stock trading system came about. And a lot of it is, working with put spreads, buying stock, finding where to cut your losses, things like that. And so that's where the two mesh together. And people actually can get access to that at aistocktradingsystem.com. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I love being able to trade and talk to people about trading too. It's just like you're doing right now. It's such a pleasure to be able to follow your passions.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have passions, you're missing out on something very fulfilling, exciting, and a source of major happiness in your life. Because you don't have like the whole thing of following a passion is that you really get into the journey. The end is always good, but the journey, that old cliche, when you have a passion, if you aren't passionate about something, it's hard to stay committed and focused through the downturns, right? And that's where having a passion and really being into it really will get you through those low points. And I podcasted for 10 years and it wasn't all a bowl of cherries, but now it's past 5 years, it's been phenomenal. And I thought about doing other things at some point or another, and there was just nothing that I felt passionate about or that really interested me that much. So here I am, but I digress. But the point is that, when you're passionate about something, so your average client, who is that person?
Great question. So our average client would be somewhere between probably 40 and 70. Somebody who has some money. Obviously, you gotta have money to trade. I worked with a man. His name's Dan Fitzpatrick. He's the stock market mentor. And there was one day I was talking to him, and he's like, "Look, if you're a trader, you have money and you put that money to work. If you don't have money and you don't put that money to work, you're not a trader. You're an observer." So first off, we got to talk to people who actually have cash and want to be active with their funds, right? So somebody that's between like 30 and 70. And then somebody who probably, in all reality, has tried a couple different services and just been disillusioned, or it wasn't right for them. And I'm sure that if they are listening to your podcast and your radio show, they've probably had a chance to try one thing out or another and just haven't really found something that clicked with them. That's where I'm seeing a lot of people come from. They're telling me that, hey, Chris, I would spend thousands of dollars on this service and it didn't give me half of what this has. And yeah, it's just, that's who we're looking for. We're looking to help people who are actually interested in actively managing their money, right? And it may not be the Robinhood and the Webull traders, but we encourage those people as well to come and to check out the AI stock trading system. But in all reality, once you have access to this, it just makes life so much simpler. I'd love to do a demo, but now's not the time for that. But the ability to just like see the data there on the screen And just their tagline is take the guesswork out of trading.
Right.
It just makes life really easy. I mean, they give you target prices for exits and like profit targets, and just being able to have those there, it simplifies the whole process for somebody.
So how much would the average person need to get started here?
You know what? When I did my, that's a super good question. When I did the training for them, what I did was I actually took about $5,000 and created a second account. Well, it was 5,000, and I built up all these. I built up all the example trades, the rules, and everything to follow with a $5,000 account. And I did that intentionally to show it can be done with anything, right? And sometimes starting with the small pot is a lot better than starting with the big pot. I was talking to an NBA player one time who wanted to work with me, and he was like, "How much money do I need to start with?" And I'm like, "Well, first off, I think you should start with like $5,000, maybe 10 at the most, because like I don't mean this to be rude, but you're probably going to lose it. You're going to be making choices that you're not ready for. And if you're throwing 300,000 around on a trade that you're not mentally equipped to handle, or you don't know the systems in place, things are not going to go well for you. And then you're going to come looking at me like, Chris, this is your fault."
Hey, you know that old saw, how do you make a small fortune on Wall Street?
Yeah,
right? Start with the big one. Same in Vegas. Same thing. So what differentiates your system, Chris, from out and out gambling speculation?
So here's the deal, Kerry. Investing in all reality has a lot of speculation to it, right? We don't want to be the gamblers. We want to be the house whenever we play. And I'm sure that that's the way that a lot of people trade. They want to be gamblers. But, going back to the whole put spread operation here, and that has a lot to do in the system. The odds are flipped in your favor, right? First, you're working with the artificial intelligence data that's going and scan through all these algorithms. And then second, whenever you do these put spreads, and I say that with just, the assumption that the audience knows what they are, but really just selling puts and then buying further out of the money puts, you change the statistical probability. So you're working with the trend, you're working with the artificial intelligence data, and then you're changing your probabilistic outcomes with the put spreads. And you're stacking all these odds in your favor so that, if it does go against you, what I like to call it throwaway trades. If something doesn't work out, you got to just throw it away, because the way to the poorhouse is to hold on to those accounts, to hold on to those trades in your account and just watch it work against you day after day. And you can't sleep. And I've been there. I remember the first day when I lost a multi-figure day. And I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? And you know what I did, Kerry? I kept it on for a couple more weeks.
All right.
Instead of trying to figure things out, I learned it the hard way.
And that's really the only way to learn. I quoted it today in another show, but I'll say it again. As Oscar Wilde said, anything worth learning can't be taught. And certainly that holds true for the market. Chris, people want to find you, connect with you on the web, learn more about your system, maybe even subscribe. Where do you go? So
the system is at ai.tradingsystem.com. And then if they want to learn more and listen to my show, just type in How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast into YouTube or any podcast platform. And then you'll see my face, looking right back at you.
Oh, you're a good looking guy, so that's not a bad thing.
I appreciate it, Kerry. I take some pills for my hair to keep it while I got it, so I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Well, too late for me, but in any event, I'm holding on to it as long as I possibly can. Hey, you got questions for Chris? Please send me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. If you've had some weird stories in the market, trades that you thought could never fail, and yet they let you down, I want to hear about that. I'd like you to write me, kl@kerrylutz.com. Don't forget the website, sign up for your free newsletter. Got one going out tomorrow. Just had a couple more interviews I wanted to post on it. And that is financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Just sign up for the newsletter. It is free. Hopefully there's a lot of info in there that can really make a difference in the risks you take and in the rewards you reap. Chris, we'll talk to you again. Thanks so much for coming on.
Kerry, I appreciate your time, and thank you for your audience paying attention today.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.